Welcome to Dad Hammer, Bolters and Booze, where we discuss all things Warhammer while staying hydrated with an adult beverage. I am David the Warboss, and I am joined by Medicaid Steve.
Hello, hello.
What's up, Steve? How you doing, buddy? Doing all right?
Good, man. Yeah, I'm
Good.
hanging in there.
Good,
How about
good.
you?
I'm excited to have another show. Also joined by the chaplain himself, Mr. Lee. How you doing?
Yeah, doing good. It's good to be back. Still not got a catchphrase yet. Yeah. Blessings.
Yeah, you need to come up with one. Blessing. I mean, that makes everybody feel better, right?
Yeah, especially around this.
Yeah, sure.
Especially around this time.
Angry blessings.
Yeah, exactly. No, it's fine. We don't have Lawson with us this evening, so I don't think he had a catchphrase either. We're gonna have to make up one for him. I'm sure he'll love that. Well, thank you, gentlemen, for joining me. As always, we have a great show for you this evening, and we are going to discuss. Tis the season, right? It's Christmas time. We're all getting excited for all the new Warhammer announcements, the new stuff. We're starting to load up Christmas lists and hopes and dreams, even though my family will probably just say, what's this Warhammer stuff? No, he needs socks and a ladder instead. That's I mean, that's useful. That's for an old guy. He doesn't need toys. He needs a ladder.
No, ladders are bad.
They're dangerous.
They hurt people.
Yeah, just get me an X-Acto knife instead for my models. Those aren't dangerous at all.
It's much safer.
So
it's
much safer.
than the ladder.
You can't stand on the top rung of an X-Acto knife.
Nope.
No.
You don't fall off an X-Acto knife.
I mean, I guess it's possible. You could.
It's possible.
Lee, have you ever fallen off the top of an X-Acto knife?
No, but I think you should get stilts and look like an AdMech character. That'll be great this year.
Okay, we've used that joke now two episodes in a row. Is it going to be a thing?
Might be.
You sneak it in.
It might help you putting up your Christmas lights. Just get him over.
Yeah,
I got a guy for you.
The star goes on top with the Inspector Gadget. Yeah, so we're going to talk about the seasonal models with all the Squigma stuff coming out. Red Gobbo, they showed off a Black Gobbo with the Grotmus Gits and all kinds of crazy stuff. Really, really cool there. We're going to give our impressions of the latest Armies on Parade, and that's I guess the best way to describe it is that the Warhammer community, with the top of the painters in the Warhammer community, paint these masterpiece things and submit them to the Warhammer site for review and judging, and it's amazing. And so we'll give our impressions of those, and then we'll also talk through our pile of potential. Mine used to be reasonable, and now not so much. So we're going to be talking about our pile of potential for the remainder of 2023 so that we can plow through that and hopefully go into 2024 with a clean slate, right? Right.
Absolutely.
Right. Okay, good. Well, thank you so much for listening to our show. As always, if you like what you're hearing, make sure to rate, follow, and subscribe on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen. And check us out on dadhammerpodcast.com. And it's getting close to Christmas time. Why not check out our store? We got some cool stuff. I added some new products there. One is a DACA shirt that I'm pretty excited about. It's one of those, like the definition of DACA, where it's got the noun and everything on it. I think it's pretty cool. I plan on picking up one. So check that out if you are so inclined. But first, we are going to start with the most important part of every Dad Hammer podcast, and that is, what are we drinking? I've got the Warhammer cocktail this evening. So, Steve, let's start with you. What do you got tonight?
I'm just drinking a little bourbon tonight. Nothing too exciting. It is Chattanooga whiskey.
Yeah,
I think they're 111 proof.
Whoa.
Yeah, man.
Easy.
Man, I like the high test stuff.
Came to party.
Yeah. I love a 120 if it tastes good, not like rubbing alcohol. That's pretty awesome.
Oh, geez.
But yeah, I like Chattanooga whiskey. They got some interesting stuff. And it's semi-local, I guess, if you want to look at it that way.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, man,
pretty
just
simple.
kind of chilling out this evening.
Yeah,
pretty simple.
Simple.
Now, I do have it in a Grinch cup. It says it's easy being green.
Okay.
So
Very seasonal.
I'm right there with the seasonal.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
Goes
Very
all the way to
nice.
11.
111.
Yeah. Ooh, very nice. Yeah, burns my throat just listening to you. Lee, what you got tonight?
I am going for a warm drink tonight. I'm going for sleepy time tea. So if this works, you're going to hear me pass out and sleep. So it's been a long day, and I was like, I'm just going to drink some tea.
That's just the tea, though. If you fall asleep, it's not the host. It's the tea, right?
No, definitely not the show or the hosts. It's just the tea.
Just the tea.
Good. All right. Well, I have a local drink as well. I am, Christmas time. I'm listening to Christmas music and irritating my teenage son as I drive him to school. And 7 o'clock in the morning, I got the jingle bells going, jingle bell rock. I got all that kind of stuff going on on the way to school when he's still very, very sleepy. So it's awesome. It's also my way to incentivize him to make sure he passes his driver's test this coming year. I said, because otherwise I'm going to play Christmas music year round. And just you get to listen to it, and then you also get to pay me for it because you're going to make me pay for gas. Hardcore, but I'm in the Christmas spirit already. I started playing Christmas music in early November. I'm that kind of guy. So I've got one that is from Barman Nashville. He makes mixers, like these pre-made mixers where you just add a little bit of alcohol, or you could make mocktails as well. And this one in particular is called Barman Cider House. And I figured, because this is a cider, you have to heat it up a little bit. It made me think of some Christmas music. So I'm calling this one Makari, It's Cold Outside. Because Makari is he's the right hand of Gazgul. And I'd feel like that, if Makari were going to be walking around with this banner and giving him a 2-up invulnerable save all the time, he's also going to come around with a hot drink as well. So, because that's what a good sidekick does. It's just run around with some hot cider.
I'm singing the song in my head in orc speak,
Mm-hmm.
and it's really cracking me up.
Yeah. So this is 2 ounces of the Barman Cider House mixture. You heat that up for about 45 seconds or so in the microwave. And then you take your cocktail glass, you put an ounce of vodka, and you pour the Cider House over the top, stir it up. And there you go. And you get your 2-up invuln save. Now, I will say that the recipe calls for 2 ounces of Cider House and 1 ounce of vodka. Well, I doubled it up. So I've got 4 ounces of Cider House and 2 ounces of vodka. It's okay. It's like an XL drink.
You can't get up and get another one.
not at this point.
For an hour.
No, exactly.
Right.
Unless maybe I need to get my teenager. Hey, go make me another cocktail. That probably wouldn't be. That probably would be well thought of by my wife. So
That's why you need. That's why you need your 2-up invulnerable save navigating the stairs.
Or I need a Makari alongside. Hey, go get me a drink. Yes, boss.
Little guy. Hey, where did you get the Barman?
Well, I got it at our local liquor store in Fairview.
Okay, cool.
And you can get them. They sell them all over the place in Nashville. And
all right, good.
Publix, Kroger, any liquor store. I think just about in the greater Nashville area. So, but they have he's got a ton of different mixtures. So I've tried several of them, and they're great. They're the easy way to make a cocktail. But you can also add, he has some with like ginger beer that you can add. So you don't have to put alcohol in it. You could do something else for a mocktail, and it still tastes really, really good. So highly recommended. Awesome. Well, you guys enjoy your various drinks. I will enjoy my Makari. It's cold outside. Cheers and bottoms up, guys.
Cheers.
Cheers.
All right, 'tis the season, and let's talk about the Christmas Warhammer models that they have revealed. Last year, they did the Goth Rocker, which I want to start there because as an orc player, it really was that they did the cartoon, the animation with the orcs, and I think they did the Jingle Bells theme on there. DACA all the way. Oh man, it was. And then they came out with that goth rocker model with the guitar. It looks kind of like Slash from Guns N' Roses a little bit with the top hat. And they even did a kill team scenario on Warhammer Plus. Fantastic! It was so great. I didn't think that they would be able to top that. And this year, I personally, I don't think they did, but I think they made a good run at it. It was definitely different than the Goth Rocker and all that kind of stuff. So this year, every year they always do a Red Gobbo of some kind, which is the little Gretchen guy that's dressed up like Santa Claus that steals presents, and he does it every single year, and they theme stuff around it. And so this year they showed off a Red Gobbo, and first of all, I guess I'll start with you. What were your impressions when they first showed off that Red Gobbo model? My first thought was it's a little more subdued than they normally have. He's kind of in a quiet pose versus the normal jumping over everything and kind of blowing everything up. So what were your first thoughts when you saw the Red Gobbo model this year?
I mean, if I'm honest, I never knew about the Red Gobbo model like being a different thing each year. I mean, that's kind of new to me. But again, I'm not in it as long as you, so you a little bit more than me. I loved last year the Goth Rocker. I had fun with that. I made a base and created a tombstone and said like "Rock is dead" on it with Orky spelling and painted.
It was great.
That was fun. But when I saw it, I was like, "Oh man, that's good." But I've also made a promise that I wouldn't try and buy anything else until I clear through the kind of pile of potential that I've got. But it looked fun. I thought there was that air of like mischief on his face, like he's up to no good. And then seeing all the like little presents, like in the snow, splattered around was cool as well. But I think it really like lent to the whole searching for clues. I think it really maybe it felt a little bit more subdued because it was linking to that kind of story of in search of who is up to no good stealing the toys.
Yeah, I liked that, and I liked the animation that they did. I don't know if you got to watch. They did a little cartoon at the end of because you could do the little quiz and try to have a chance to win something. Of course, it's I feel like this point it's like trying to win the lottery. And I did all the questions every day, and like I'm never going to win, but this is fun to participate. And then at the very end, they did a little cartoon where they showed the Red Gobbo trying to figure out who actually stole the gifts, and he walks in and sees the Black Gobbo and all that. We'll talk about that here in a second. Before we do, Steve, what were your thoughts on the Red Gobbo?
Oh, I bought it.
Okay.
No. So I actually missed both of those last year because like Lee, I really didn't know that was a yearly thing. And I remember vaguely the Red Gobbo coming out last year, and I missed it. I just kind of didn't pay close enough attention, and I didn't get the Golf Rocker either. So I said this
Bah
year
humbug,
I'm
man.
gonna
You
get.
didn't get any of
I
it.
know, it's so sad. I said this year I'm gonna pick it up because even my wife was like, "Hey, that's really cute." I was like, "Yeah, it really is." So our local Blackthorn gaming center, they advertised that they got some in. So I went and bought one on the way home, and I actually started painting it Monday. I put it together over the weekend and primed it up on Monday, and I've actually gotten through a whole lot of it. But it is a subdued sculpt, But I think it's cool. I like the idea of he's fixing to throw a stick of dynamite down the chimney. That's gonna be a bad morning. But as I'm painting it, all right. First of all, little Gabo, really small. So I had to really get the wobble goggles out to see what I was painting. But every time I'm painting something, I'm like finding new details on it, and I was very impressed. Like I don't know if you've seen the picture or not. There are actually little paint pots in the snow,
Mm-hmm.
which are really awesome.
Mm-hmm.
And it's even that way on the back, and there's like Christmas lights and ornaments, and he's got all kinds of Shotsky hung on him. I don't know. It's really a lot of fun to paint. So I'm actually really glad I got it. I just wanted something one-off.
Yeah.
Something I didn't have to do. I don't ever really do that these days. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't buy something just to paint it.
I don't either. I tend to, the one thing I do like to do is I love buying the character models, just getting the
Mm-hmm.
one model. I only have to focus on this one guy. I can spend a lot of time on him and versus trying to paint up a 20 model box or something like that. And after
Mm-hmm.
2 or 3, I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm ready to be done. So it is kind of nice just to focus on one single model, even though you're not going to put that in an army. At least I don't think so.
Right.
I bet somebody that after they have collected multiple years of Red Gobbos, that they have just like, a full army of Christmas Red Gobbo orcs, Gretchen
Yeah.
to roll around. And I mean,
See,
I wonder if they could turn that into a thing.
that'd be pretty cool. I'm actually thinking about taking that commemorative, the first year Warhammer Plus. I have no idea why I ordered the Auric. I
Yeah.
don't know. I should have gotten the assassin, but I wasn't going to use it either. So I'm not going to use the Auric either. But maybe I should like convert him to Santa, like painting up like put a little hat on him and paint it up like Santa. How
Yeah.
cool would that be?
I think it'd be really cool. Yeah.
Santa with an
A
axe.
little a little kit bash. That sounds good.
Mm-hmm.
So the
Fun.
the Red Gobbo thing I thought was good. It wasn't my favorite model. I usually prefer the I guess the Red Gobbo models that my one I'm used to is the one where they're in a more dynamic pose, hopping around, doing something crazy. But what
Mm-hmm.
we got was the second model, which was a bit of a surprise, which was the Black Gobbo. And from the animation, what was really cool to see is that when the Red Gobbo comes in and sees all of the presents behind the desk and trying to find out who it is, it turns out it's this new character that I personally have never heard of, the Black Gobbo. And then they proceed to have this duel and throw dynamite and try to murder each other in this office, and they end up blowing up all the presents and then go out and all the rest of the orcs steal them. But my favorite part at the very end, if you need to go watch if you haven't seen it, at the very end, they blow a hole in the side of this building where all the presents went out, and the Red Gobbo and the Black Gobbo are standing there, and the camera's panning back, and it only shows their back as they're looking out over the snow and everything, and they're talking about, hey, Merry Squigmas, Happy Squigmas or whatever, and then as it's getting ready to pan out, the Red Gobbo just kind of like smacks the back of the Black Gobbo and pushes him off the ledge, like just to fall to his doom. I thought it was the best thing ever, just right at the very end to make sure that he remembers. So
It's like Spy versus Spy,
yeah,
Mad
yeah.
Magazine. Did you ever read that?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, exactly. It's pretty much what they were going for there. I thought what was cool, and one of the reasons I always like when they put these models out, the orcs already have a bit of comic relief built into Warhammer. They sometimes, as an orc player, I like that, and I also don't like it at the same time because it gives them a feeling of they're expendable, where they're just so easy to take down, more annoying than anything. But then again, I like playing armies that are annoying. Hashtag Votan. But it's the orcs. They've always had this bit of humor, weird silliness to them, and I like the fact that Warhammer still has that. So this the Red Gobbo and the Grotmus Gits and all that kind of stuff is a really cool to see. One of the other things that they did, and Lee, I know that you checked this out too, were the extra rules that they sent out for the missions, which was kind of like an extra bonus. It was a bit of a bonus. They're not just giving you the models, but hey, here's a custom scenario that you can play. And then I actually went to the Warhammer store the other day, and they gave out a little booklet for free when you buy something, and it had a little game on the back where if you could play one of those missions, you paint the Red Gobbo model and you send it in, and you can get some free stuff. But I don't know. Did you have a chance to look at the free missions, and is that something that you'd be interested in playing maybe in the future?
I mean, I didn't get a chance to look at that, but I think for me, as I saw the rules, what caught me was the idea of that they'd put them on both 40K and for Sigma. So
Mm-hmm.
this idea that you've now got a model that you can play, across the two kind of game platforms. I mean, that just started my, my wheels spinning on what other things could I take in? Like, what would happen if, a Seraphon army crossed through the warp and ended up, battling an orc army or something like that. That's where my mind went. So, I thought that was exciting, but just the idea of what could we see in the future of crossover models, like models that could do both things,
Yeah, I wonder what if they would actually do that, because there is, for whatever reason, good, bad, or indifferent, Games Workshop likes their individual game systems. They're seeing that with Legion Imperialis. You've got Kill Team. You've got Necromunda, Age of Sigmar, 40K. You have all these different game systems, and they want to keep them separate, even though it's all part of the Warhammer universe. And is it all connected? A little bit, kind of, but they're their own separate storylines. And I like that. I agree. I like the fact that they are giving an opportunity to merge Sigmar and 40K a little bit with a little bit of a wild card. And I guess the Red Gobbo is a wild card. He's not necessarily just for 40K, although that's more of the leaning. But the orcs and the oryx are somewhat interchangeable, it seems. So I don't know if they could do a crossover with anything else. I mean, could they bring in Seraphon and have them battle Chaos Space Marines or something? Well, yeah, of course, but then they would be. What would they do? Would they have a Seraphon 40K and they would just take all the dinosaurs and give them machine guns instead? I mean, is that what they would do?
I mean, that sounds fun to me.
Lasers.
Lasers and
Lasers
dinosaurs.
on dinosaurs. Well, you can bring Be'lakor as the model.
Yep.
With no change back and forth, but you can also say that technically about any demon army.
Yep.
So they're actually the exact same box. It's weird, man. If you wanted to play, just say demons, and you get all the blood letters and all that stuff, the contents of the box are the exact same, except one you can buy a 40K box, and the other one is the white Age of Sigmar box, and it's so strange, but they're the same models. And they'll play interchangeably, but yeah, that's kind of about it, really. I don't know. I think that'd be kind of cool because, well, isn't the Seraphon allegedly maybe sort of somewhat kin to what the old ones were in the lore? I don't know. Weren't they like frog people or? I don't know. Maybe it's this.
They need
maybe it's this
they need
111
a frog people army, though. I'm pretty sure. I mean,
Yeah,
they
frog
have that
folk,
with the
maybe.
Lord Croak or whatever his name is with Seraphon.
Yeah.
So maybe that's where
Right.
they get it. I don't know, Lee. You're the new Seraphon player. Do you have a frog army that you're just not telling us about?
Yeah, the warlord Kermit is about to unleash havoc. He's ready. He's ready to roll. I mean, I'm sorry, I've not looked up at the lore. I was just like, man, they look cool. That was
Yeah.
it.
Well, no,
Cool.
that's that works for the
That's what
rest
you're
of
supposed
us.
to do.
Yeah, because I don't read anything. We've established that. It's well established on this show. I don't like reading, and unless it's the front of the box. I will read the front of the box and the back of the box to understand what the name of the unit is and then the price. And that's about as far as I go. I buy the codex or the battle tome, whatever system, and I go straight to the stats and the rules and the abilities, and I read like the executive summary of why they can do what they do, and I move on. And maybe one day if it's raining outside and I get bored, I'll read the backstory of why they exist and all that. But usually I'm just like, yeah. Well, do they roll D6? Great. I'm gonna keep going.
And how many do they roll?
That's right. Well, very cool. I love this, that every time they release a new Red Gobbo or any kind of seasonal model. So cool stuff to see. I prefer the Black Gobbo model because he is one of the more aggressive looking models, and he's riding on a giant squig, and with the Red Gobbo the Red Gobbo, DA. The Red Gobbo standing and just being really, really quiet and sneaky, but that plays to both of the personalities of the two, which either way, it's a cool set, and I'm glad they're doing it. looking forward to next year, 2024, when maybe they come out with the bass player for Goth Rocker. I mean, who knows? The Axl Rose for the Orcs. Yeah. I think that'd be
The
cool.
drummer.
Yeah, exactly. So we'll see. But looking forward to next year's Squigmas. Let's now talk about the Armies on Parade for 2023. They recently had the big awards ceremony, and as I mentioned at the top of the show, the Armies on Parade are really just these submissions from fans where they don't just take the models right off the shelf and paint them into a high standard. That's not enough. They have to put them on a crazy display, and it's usually very atmospheric, and they've got a backdrop and lots of cool terrain to go along with it. But the point is to take a fully fledged force. I mean, it can be different sizes, but they'll put a full force out and take a really nice picture with a high quality camera, and then submit that to the judges to win awards. And this year were some pretty great ones. Lee, I'll start with you with what your thoughts were on the Armies on Parade. What was your favorite out of all? There were a lot of different submissions. Some were just a lot of Space Marines. Some were about more of an atmospheric type thing where they did some Blood Bowl, and there was a Bellicor thing. They just a lot of stuff all over the board. What was your favorite in particular with the Armies on Parade this year?
Yeah, I think so. My favorite was Emil's Ultramarines Fifth Company. I think what I loved about that is what I've seen, through painting like different Marines and stuff, that so often they can be really light, like really bright, the color, the vibrancy of the blue. And what I loved about this was it had that kind of gritty, grimy feel to it. And then everything else was just like an accent, like pop of color, whether it was magic was blue, a blade was blue. It just, that's what caught my eye, was just the darkness, but there was just a depth to it. It looks like they're coming out of a hangar, and then it has the librarian on the top, just kind of pointing out, with the magic side of things. I'm not sure what's going on in the background. Feels like an 80s He-Man cartoon in the background. But again, that's my kind of opinion, but just the standard is amazing. And I think what it does is actually inspires me as a painter of Marines to kind of, try things and push those limits. I think that's what's beautiful about these Armies on Parade. Like, you can find one thing and go, oh man, I want to try that on my army. And right now I'm trying to replicate that battle worn, that like more grimier image. I wouldn't say grim dark because it's not that dark, but just this idea that they've been in a war, they've been in a battle, as opposed to box art, which is very clean and kind of precise. I'm liking the more worn, look. And I think
Mm-hmm.
this does it, but still it's precise. I mean, that's the thing. He balances that battle worn, battle damaged darkness with this like real preciseness. So I'm like, hands up, that guy, hands up. That guy's a good painter. I don't know where
Yeah.
he placed, but man, it was good.
Yeah, I agree. I'm looking at it now, and I think looking at the text, it does look like a He-Man thing in the background, a little Prince Adam going on. But that is supposed to be the Emperor, I think. Just looks very He-Man. I agree, but yeah, what I like about this too is the griminess. He managed to make everything look like it's in the middle of battle, and they had just come through the mud, essentially what it looks like. But they've got little pops and little details. The emblems are shiny in certain areas, but they are worn in others. So it has a realistic looking feel to it, as if they were part of a movie almost. If they were trying to make a movie, this is kind of what it would look like. Not the entire model isn't just completely dirty and worn. It's just pieces of it where they came out of the mud, but the top right hand corner of the model is still kind of shiny, where the bottom right hand corner is not. So I thought he did a really good job of creating some depth with the darkening and the colors for it. So I agree. Anything that you would want to try in your own armies? You mentioned trying to go after some of the darker or worn look. Any desire to go after this diorama type thing where you displayed them all with a crazy backdrop and maybe some He-Man flair on the in the background?
I mean, not right now. I think looking at it, there's a lot of inspiration towards terrain. My thing right now is I've got armies painted up, ready to go, but actually I have no terrain. So that's going to be some of the next kind of projects over Christmas, is kind of looking at what I can do. I did like, as I looked in the background, I like the rock formations that they have, and you can see how he's
Mm-hmm.
layered up with different colors and stuff like that. So I'm like, okay, that's start with a black base and then begin to move up, and he looks like he's got some more of the bluer grays in there to give it a little of a moon, that like moonshine, moonshine, is that it? No, that's something else. But like just this lunar kind of backlighting. So I think that is very inspiring, and something that I think I could try and replicate on my own,
Yeah,
terrain. But I'm not ready to build a diorama yet. Not there yet.
not yet, not yet. Maybe next year then. Um, build up your terrain. Maybe you'll get some terrain for Christmas. You never know.
Maybe,
There you go.
maybe,
Yeah.
maybe the gobbo will bring it to me.
Well, Steve, we'll move over to you. What was your
Yeah.
standout? What was your favorite for this year?
I really love the oh gosh, I just lost it. Sorry. Bellacor's prize for ultimate ambition. Because it really is ambitious, right? This guy, he stayed within the is it 2 foot by 2 foot regulation is what this said,
Mm-hmm.
but went straight up with it. And it is like grimy and gross. I think the only critique is that critique, like I'm an expert. Um, I think it's AdMech, maybe some sort of take on
It's
dark
hard to tell.
Mechanicus or something like
Yeah.
that. But it's so dark because you really would think of the Mechanicum and being in a more clean and sterile environment, but maybe not, because in the entire planet of Mars is like what, one big hive city sort of, and you're talking about they can keep machines running, but they can't really make new stuff. So maybe it would be gross and dark, but he put these little pockets of light in there, and it's not like good light. It's very dim and still dark, but it's not all just look like it was dunked in Null oil or something. It's very strategic and well planned out, and I would like to kind of go with that sort of motif on stuff. I've tried, but I find myself cleaning it up too much. Does that make sense? I just can't go all in on that. Like, it's really hard to
Yeah,
do.
you feel like you got to dunk it in a bunch of grimy stuff, and the
Hmm.
only it's not a criticism at all. It's more of an observation. The only thing with this one is that it's hard to see the detail, because, and this
Yes.
is more about the picture that they posted, because it's so zoomed out that you really can't see.
Hmm.
I want to get in to see some of what's going on. It's very difficult to actually look through this picture and see any of the details and what they did. But I think this is most the one of the most visually impressive ones for sure.
Mm. They should have done some little panels and frames and stuff like that. But I had like a close second on this deal.
Yeah.
I really like the most atmospheric one. It says 2 minutes to midnight.
Hmm.
Um, again, I'm assuming this looks very Age of Sigmar. I suppose it could be Lord of the Rings or one of their other game systems, but it's not so much the composition of what it is necessarily, though it is really cool. But I'm trying to figure out this whole OSL thing. I really like I like to get away from all the nitpicky detail on all these models because you can get lost in it. And I want to get to where I just like shine a light on it as if it's in the dark. Now, the problem with that is that's a big commitment because you're going to have to do one side of it in like Lee was talking about, like a moonlit purple or blue or something completely opposite of what the light would show. You know, if you want to really show like some focal light that's from a lantern or energy weapon or something like that.
Mm.
So it's a big step when you're painting to make that commitment. But I love the shadows on it. I don't know if you've seen it. There's like little weird arm shadows on
Oh,
the
I'm just
ground.
now seeing that, like little claws
And
and stuff.
and do you see the witch hunter shadow
Yeah,
cast onto the wall?
yeah.
That's the kind of stuff that I saw this and I was like, I say it's a close second, but
I
it
don't
might
know.
be my
I
favorite.
mean,
It might be my
is
favorite.
this? I think is this Curse City? This might be Curse City.
Oh, it could be Curse
Yeah,
City.
with the
Yeah,
with
that
the
could
the
be.
hunter and that was my first impression with some of the
Good
housing and
point.
stuff like that. But they've even got the sewer, and from what I remember
Yeah,
of was it a Hammer and Bolter episode maybe from Warhammer Plus? They had a show with this kind of stuff in there. Maybe it wasn't Hammer and Bolter, but I
right.
remember an episode where they went through that, and it was very Curse City ish. I really
Mhm.
liked it. So yeah, I agree. This was probably my favorite because when I looked at the original ones, not to say that they're not impressive, they're all very impressive, but they're all Space Marines, right? It's just kind of a
Right.
safe
Yeah, I agree.
Space Marine, safe in the most complimentary terms, right?
Mhm.
Because I
Right.
mean the paint jobs on the Space Marine ones are anything but safe. They're amazing, and just we just talked about how great they were. But I didn't look at any of the Space Marines and say, "Oh my goodness, look at that! It's so impressive."
Mm.
I say, "Wow, that's really good." But when I scroll down and I get down to some of the ones that are a little more out there, even the Soulblight Gravelords one, where they went with the white kind of snowy theme, and
Mhm.
the backdrop actually helps. I think it's important to frame the model, and this is something that we've talked about before. Whenever new painters are coming into this hobby and thinking about really giving their army a theme, the base and the terrain and the backdrop is more or less there to frame and showcase the model, not necessarily to distract from it. So the Soulblight Gravelords one, my eye is drawn to the background, but I do like the paint job that they did to brighten up things a little bit. But my personal favorite after the midnight one, it's going to sound a little weird. I liked the original composition, which was it looked like a painting, right? They had taken all
Oh,
these models
yeah.
and hacked them up, and then put them on this 3D looking. It almost looks like a fresco where somebody had painted
Mhm.
on a wall, but it's coming out at you. It was
Yeah.
very, very cool, very original, and that was probably my favorite out of all those. But regardless, just very, very impressive paint schemes. I don't know if you saw there was one by the award for most inspiring youngster, which was a 12-year-old did this diorama. And because my first more of a cynical mind, but as a dad, I'm thinking, all right, somebody's dad really helped him out, paint, but maybe not. I'm looking at
Maybe
this
not.
and it doesn't look like they're using OSL or any kind of
Mm-mm.
ridiculously advanced techniques. It's just a really solid paint job, which I think is cool.
Mhm. And I'm glad they showcased a kid. I mean, that's going to just, I don't know, inspire other kids.
Hmm.
And that's what you really want. I mean, we get stuck in this hobby as adults and we get very serious about it sometimes, but I don't know, man. I really like kids getting some credit for what they do. That's good.
I
That's really
tried to
good.
I tried to get my son into Warhammer, and then as it's well documented on this show, he found Fortnite and Apex Legends and Among Us, and he's still playing
Mm,
Roblox and occasionally Minecraft. And I guess that's just, it's more fun to hang out with your friends than to hang out with your dad, apparently, which, I can't blame him.
That's
But
probably true.
yeah, but I mean, I agree. I wish he would get into it, but Lee, I know one of your children was able to paint some and even named a Space Marine squad. What was the name of the squad? Was it?
Electric or Electra Overkill.
Yeah, which was
No,
awesome
that's
because they had like a purple and pink hue to them. And yeah, I remember you put them down on the table and you told me the name, and I think I was saying I'm more terrified of these assault Marines than I am the rest of your army because number one, I know what they're called, and they're painted purple, which just makes it unassuming. Like, oh no, they're gonna murder me.
She was great. I mean, when she jumped in, I said, "Okay, we're going to show you how to just dry brush," and I kind of just did a little bit, and she was like, "I've got this," and she just ran with it. And then I think we were playing a game. Me and David were playing a game, and then she was sending me like the name of the squad and just details about them, and she loved it. And then another Switch game came out, and she was like, "Peace," like she was gone. So I lost it to Mario.
That's the
I was
way it
like, but
goes.
you never know. And then my 3-year-old, she saw her painting, and then I had a Chaos Marine that I got from the free mini of the month that you can pick up at your local GW store, and she wanted to paint as well, and that is just a blob of purple and silver, but I kept it in the hope of going, here's your first mini. And then when she's
Yeah.
producing, award ceremony things, I'll be like, this is where you started. This is the
Yeah.
journey.
Yep.
Yeah. I liked, there's a guy called Pablo. He looked like he did a Middle Earth strategy, like setup. But this is just me, but what I really liked about it was it looks like he's actually cut the bases, places, a place for the base to sit. So if he ever wants to play the game, he doesn't have to take the whole thing. He can pick the models out, go and play the game, come back and put them back in their place. I thought that was pretty cool from the point of view of we all love to display our models, but we never, we just put them in a cabinet and hope someone goes, they're cool. Whereas he's actually looks like he's gone and built a whole kind of display diorama that has that interaction, that ability to be able to pull the models out without
Yeah.
damaging it. So I thought that was really interesting. As I looked at that, I was like, oh man, and it blends really well, whether it's on the display or on the tabletop. So I thought that was cool.
Yeah, if I had, I think if I had a little more room in the shelves that I have, right? I've got them in, they're all packed in there, especially the orcs. But I've got several armies that are just crammed into these shelves. And if I had, maybe another house, maybe that's what I'll do, right? I'll just build an addition onto the house. Hey, I need about another 1,500 square feet for Warhammer.
We can go lease some office space.
Yeah. I'm sure that's affordable in the greater Nashville area. It's super cheap.
Yeah, with
Oh,
no
boy.
income coming in on it.
Yeah,
That's
great.
good. That'd be great.
Well, very impressive models. I definitely will never be submitting anything because I just, I mean, I guess I could, but it's never going to compare to what these folks were able to achieve. So good on them for being able to do that. It has, I'm sure, inspired a lot of people and giving us ideas for sure on maybe how to showcase our models and some different techniques that we can use. So cool segment that they do every year, and looking forward to seeing the armies on parade in future installments. So we're going to round out the 2023 here. We've got a couple more shows coming up for you, so please be looking forward to those. But we're going to start this I guess the last part of 2023, and we'll do this over the next couple of shows. But we have a segment here where we're going to talk through our current pile of potential, and that for me it's built up over the last really 6 months, especially with the Leviathan box set coming out and earlier this year. and having all the Tyranids and the extra Space Marines, and then I'm trying to finish up Chaos and all this other stuff. And my pile of potential has continued to grow. It's not a pile of shame, as we have said before. It's a pile of potential. But these are the models that we're trying to get through before the end of the year, because I know I put a whole lot of stuff on my Christmas list, and if I get any of that, and maybe including a ladder and some socks, but if I get any of my Warhammer stuff, then that'll be adding to my pile of potential. So I'll start first here about what I'm trying to get through, but also what maybe something that I'm most proud of is I began early trying to start a Chaos Space Marine army. I bought a couple of models. This was really for my son was playing Necrons a couple of years ago, and as I've said, he moved on to other things. But for a short period of time, he was wanting to play a second army. So I bought a box of Chaos Space Marine Terminators, and I painted those up. And they've been sitting on my shelf for a while, and I thought, I need to flesh this out a little bit. So I bought some extra ones, and then Lawson, who's been on this show, of course, was selling his Chaos Space Marines, and he had, oh man, it was close to 1,500 points, almost 2,000 of Chaos Space Marines. Some of
Wow.
the models were a little old, but they still did the job. So I had several models come in, and I painted quite a few. I got a Venom Crawler, I got a Rhino, I got Abaddon. I got some Raptors in. I did a lot of chaos this year, but I've still got, and Lawson gave me 30 Legionaries, and I'm doing all Black Legion on these guys, the Chaos Undivided. And, I, I think one of the reasons he gave them to me is because he didn't want to do all the black and gold just over and over again. And it sounds easy. And it's really not that difficult, but all the edge highlighting, if you've never done edge highlighting on black, either, especially with gold trim, you have to edge highlight the gold trim with I'm doing what's the Auric gold to give it the shine, and then I do Stormhost silver to highlight that after I've already done the Retributor armor, and then I put a shade on there too. It's like 4 paints for all this gold trim,
Oh my
and then I do the
gosh.
black, and I have to go back in and I use a gray to do the edge highlighting with mine. I want more of a muted look than a blue or something, but it's just so boring. And I've done 22 of the Legionaries, and I got 8 more. I'm doing them in groups of 4, and I'm looking at 4 of them right now on my desk. That the thing is that Lawson painted them. They were his first army to paint, so they're not in terrible shape, but they definitely need a bit of a glow up. So I've got 8 more to go, and I'm trying to get those done before the end of the year. And then I think I'll be almost up to date on my Casper Space Marines. And then I'm trying to finish up start really my Stormcast Eternals army. I have had a couple of false starts with spraying Retributor armor out of a can and it coming out like sawdust, and I really didn't know it until about halfway through. So all my models were all caked up and with the grimy gold dusty stuff, and so I had to give them an alcohol bath to strip the paint completely, and it zapped all my motivation to go back in and paint those things. So I will get back to those soon, because most of the items that I put on my personal Christmas list were Stormcast. So I got to get those done, and then finally I've got all of my Tyranids from the 2 Leviathan box sets that are currently sitting just in a base of Wraithbone. So I have plenty of work, plenty to cut out for me. Steve, what's in your pile of potential to round out this year?
Whew, the pile is something, I have to tell you. But I am going to get my Slaves of Darkness army painted. Definitely by the new year, probably sooner. I got a really good push and momentum going on them right now, so I don't have too many to go. And it's funny because they're chaos, but unlike what you're having to do with your legionaries, I get to just have a lot of fun with them. Like they're not really the same necessarily. I get to kind of try out new techniques. I might paint 3 that are similar and another 3 that are similar, and I get to do little different stuff because I mean they're just really barbarians in armor, right? So you talk about your legionaries. I feel the same way about Space Marines, and I love them. They're my favorite faction, but man, can that just get so tedious painting those dudes because you kind of have to pick something and go with it. And for good or bad, you have to go all in on it. And if you do 10 of them and you really aren't into the paint job you're doing, you're like, okay, I'm just going to power through it. The next 10 are going to be different. But then you find like, oh, wow, that's different, but it's the same. So it gets a little bit annoying. So I don't know. This has been a nice, fresh little diversion. I have like 90% of that Leviathan box just sitting on sprues.
Oh no,
So,
you didn't even put it together?
no.
Oh.
I put the Stern Guard veterans together. I put the apothecary guy together and that lieutenant with the 2 knives and stuff. I put them together. But that's all I've done out of that box. And some of it's because I don't know, they're Space Marines. So it's not like lack of Space Marines right now. I wanted to get to the Tyranids. I was really motivated on the Tyranids. And then I'm like a cat with a shiny object. I'm like, ooh, let's go do this. And it just is still sitting in the box. And I'll get back to it because it's going to be a great combat patrol. If nothing else, I'm going to get that will be my goal to start with the Tyranids. If I can get a combat patrol done with those, that'll be good. Like I said, I want to see what the Dark Angels releases are before I get too heavy on the Space Marines that I have, because I want to see if there's some ways I can kind of kit bash them because they're generic, in that Leviathan box. So that's okay.
I can't believe you never got Lionel Johnson, did you?
No,
Oh,
and I still am. It's a great model. Don't get me wrong, but I don't know.
Oh, it looks so
It's
cool.
not. It looks so cool. I know.
And then I want to
but
call
it
him
just hasn't
Lionel
been.
Richie every single time I see it. Like who called Lion? Is it's they were Lionel Messi, right? It's Lionel Messi, Lionel Johnson, and there's just too
Lionel
many
Johnson.
things I can make fun of. But it's still a really cool looking model, and it reminds me of
It is a cool looking
Of course,
model.
everybody said this, but what's the guy from Last Action Hero? The bad guy in Last Action Hero. It looks like that guy.
Yeah. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah,
I know.
whatever his name
I
is.
think though, when I get done with the my Slaves of Darkness, I really do think I'm gonna traverse over to my Necrons. I started them. I have essentially a combat patrol ish out of them, and I have a lot to do. I think I have about 2,000 point Necron
Oh my
army.
gosh, I didn't know you
Dude,
were
it's
so
bad.
far behind.
Oh, I'm like burying my shame in the closet, dude, because it's so bad. But it's there. It's not like it's not going to get
Yeah,
done. It's going to get
you'll have
done.
plenty to do on a rainy day or a snowy day or a sunny day.
Mhm.
Any of the days.
Yeah, let's see how that works out.
Yeah. Well, good luck. Keep us posted.
Yes,
When you get
absolutely.
unburied, maybe you'll actually have some Warhammer stuff to showcase. So that'll be cool.
I know. Right.
All right, Lee. What do you have in your massive pile of potential? I think you're probably the safest out of all of us. You're not going to draw as much of a angry eye from the spouse.
I was sitting here going, I think I've just got the Leviathan box set like to finish up and then Commander Farsight. And then I was like, well, hang on a minute. I haven't just got the Leviathan box set. I've got so Leviathan box set. I've got the Stern Guards still to do, and the Dreadnought, and then the character models to finish off. But then I realized I poured in to that box a Space Marine kill team of infiltrators, and also the Rivières, because I like the whole Phobos like stealth thing. So actually, I've got all of that to complete, but they're all base coated, and I think I've done the leather work on them. So they're all getting there. It's that kind of last little bits of detail that kind of get them where they need to be. Commander Farsight, last time on the last podcast, he was having a bath. He's now been primed and ready to roll. And for him, like, I really want to do a samurai, like old samurai style, like picture. I don't know why, but I have this. I don't know if it's that. It's like a grimy look. So the idea of starting with a black, going to like a mahogany, and then building up through to the red that he has, but giving it like this old like samurai feel with the cherry blossom trees. In my mind it looks amazing, but but like, you know, roll him on the board and be like, wah, wah, and then flip side is, you know, I again just that kind of, I saw a deal and went for it, and then I was like, man, I got to put these together. But I have a Seraphon start collecting box, and then I have that Seraphon like big box that they brought out, so that's all assembled. But they're
I was
just,
about to say,
yeah.
like, is it still sitting in the box, and then you're no worse off
No.
than okay?
No, they're all assembled. Lord Croak is sitting there judging me on his throne.
His gray plastic throne.
Yeah, but like I'm excited about doing that, and I think I've got a plan to maybe try and use an airbrush to try and speed that up. But I don't think they're going to get done until the new, you know, the new year. So it's the Leviathan box set and getting those other Space Marines done and on the table. That's the plan.
So what I gotta ask, because you know I don't necessarily like painting. The painting is a necessary thing, because I when I put them on the table, I want them to look great, and I know that I'm a decent painter. I'm not an amazing painter, but I'm decent, and I know that I'm not going to be satisfied if they're just okay, right? They have to be where I put forth significant effort. I mean, even to the point where the 8 Chaos Space Marines that I've got still to paint, the Legionaries, they will stay in the shelf, and I have played several games with with only the fully painted to my standard Chaos Space Marine models, even though there are other models that will probably be better for my force to help me win, that are probably 80% painted, but they're not all the way, and so they just stay on the shelf. I'm like, isn't that guy going to help you? Yeah, but he's not fully painted yet, so he doesn't count. So I'm that kind of guy most of the time. They have to be fully done. But I'm interested because to know, Lee, your perspective, because I have all of my stuff is assembled. Like I can't stand to just to let it sit in the box on the sprue. Like that just doesn't work for me. But they will stay, you know, unpainted or just primed for a little while before I actually get to paint to them. So I know you like painting a lot. Is that something that do you struggle with getting the motivation to finish up painting, or is it more the assembly, or neither?
I think for me, the assembly sometimes is what kind of can be frustrating, especially trying to glue like little models together. And then with some of the Seraphon, how you have to put them together is like holding 3 pieces together. Whereas with the new kind of Space Marine models, it's just push them together and away you go. So I think for me, I struggle with the assembly side of it. Once they're primed and I'm kind of in a rhythm with painting, I really enjoy that, and I think that's where I've seen my skill level up, is in the painting, from where I started to where I am now. And that's just what I enjoy doing. It helps me switch off mentally, and then also, you know, I'm a relatively new player, so I don't have maybe the knowledge of the game as well as maybe you guys who play it have played it more than me. So I just need those 10 bonus points. So if I can get a fully painted army, and that's what makes me win, I'm going to play to my strengths. But I think for me, one thing that I'm learning is I'm trying to, and I'll try and replicate this in the new year, is don't like buy a box, build the box, paint the box, play the box. I think that is where I've kind of learnt the place to be, especially as a new player. You know, you go out, and this is before we first started. You know, when I first started, it was like, man, I gotta have a lot of models to be able to play. What's beautiful now about Combat Patrol is you can buy it, build it, paint it, play it.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas when I started, it was buy this box and you can't play. You got to buy this box and this box. And before I know it, I was overwhelmed as a new player. You know, so my painting was more rushed. I was trying to get it done because I don't know why, but I don't want to be the guy that rolls gray onto the board. You know,
Yeah.
I want them. I want them painted. But I think now, you know, sorry, that's a tangent that I've gone off on there. But I think that Combat Patrol, you know, get them painted, get them on the board, and get them bonus 10 points, especially if you're a new player, because that'll help you win.
Yeah. No, the Combat Patrol continues to be something that brings in a lot of new players. We've got a mutual friend, Stu, who is primarily Age of Sigmar player, but you know, the notion of Combat Patrol, he's heard us talk about it, and it's like, oh, I could do that. It seems achievable, right? It's not so far out there that, oh my gosh, 2,000 points. That's just so far away. It almost gives you a bit of a milestone to reach. Just buy this box, go build it, paint it, play it. I like that, the way that you phrase it too, because it makes it achievable, obtainable for somebody, especially new to the game, or maybe someone looking to start a new army. So I know that our piles of potential are of different degrees, but I think it's, you know, the good news is that we're in, you know, misery loves company. I don't know if I'm not in misery. I like
Yeah,
all my
man.
stuff, right? Warhammer loves
I love
company.
it.
So I'm interested to see. We'll try to keep everybody up to date on, you know, our progress, and maybe over the course of the next couple shows. That's what we'll do. We'll update everyone on where we are. Do we move the needle at all, or are the 4 legionaries still sitting on my desk at 60-70% painted? Only time will tell. So we'll cover that on a future show for sure. But that will actually wrap our show for this episode of Bolters and Booze. Hope you enjoyed. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you, Medicaid Steve, Chaplain Lee, for your time and your attention. I hope you enjoyed your hot tea and your 109,000 proof whiskey that you got. Steve, glad you're still with us. My
I'm here.
my Makari, it's cold outside cocktail was very good. I drank it pretty quickly. I mean, I was done with it in the first like 10 minutes. So it was good.
Warm.
Yeah, I feel all warm, ready to go jump out in the snow, even though it's like 55 degrees here still, which doesn't make any sense, but maybe that'll change. Well, again, thank you so much for listening. I am David the Warboss, and we will see you next time on Dad Hammer. Cheers, guys.
Cheers.